It's your girl Indie Lambo, and today we're going to be doing a little cooking challenge, and it's called Cooking in Survival Mode because I am cooking in a food desert. And shout out to C4 the God on TikTok because, of course, I have my own lived experiences. But when I was scrolling on TikTok, I heard him talking about how he figures out or how he deciphers who lives in the hood for real in Miami and who doesn't by how close you live in proximity towards a Publix. And for those who don't know about this concept, I was familiarized with this concept even though I've lived this experience. I never knew there was a word for it until I went to college and I took my urban planning course. And this experience is called living in a food desert, right? So a food desert is just if your proximity, this is my rule of thumb. If you live more than 1 mile away from a traditional grocery store where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables, then you live in a food desert. And I would say, although I technically live a mile away or almost a less than 10-minute or less than 7-minute car ride away from Walmart, which is where I typically get my fresh food and groceries. And if you compare that, driving distance is 6 minutes. But if you compare that by walking distance, that is a 40-minute walk. And I feel as if you cannot have walking access to food, your government or whoever is doing your city planning, or not whoever is currently doing your city planning, but whoever has planned the city, the layout of the city before, and people who are doing urban developments now are not being considerate, and they're putting members of this society and community in survival mode. Clock it. However, I will acknowledge that my local politicians in the city of Miami Gardens do a great job in bridging the gap at this food desert by throwing events in our local community areas such as Betty T. Ferguson, or I believe it's Rolling Oaks Park or something like that. They throw a lot of food events. For example, I used to be a vegan, but because of my lifestyle currently, it has been more sustainable to be a vegetarian, but I do plan on rededicating myself to that vegan lifestyle. They do a lot of events that bridge these gaps for these nutritional needs, which is great for them and great for the community as well. And if I see these events, I try to my best to repost them. But I want to show both of my shared experiences. For example, my shared experiences as a community member of Miami Gardens, but also my shared experiences as a person who has traveled to places like Japan, where there were walkable communities, and I didn't really experience there being a food desert. I was able to always walk, take a train, or have a sustainable access to fresh fruit, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fresh groceries, and being able to cook, which I feel is the bare minimum. Especially, we don't really see that in this political and government climate, but that is the bare minimum in my opinion. So yeah, that is just a little cook and talk with me about the state of the world. But these non-perishable items are at Family Dollar.